Natsuki is a middle-aged loser who deeply regrets never dating his crush because he used to be fat and ugly. However, his miserable life takes a turn when he suddenly gets transported back to the past. Now, in his new reality, he hits the gym and becomes the Chad that all girls crave for, all to finally have a chance to rizz up his crush. One night, Natsuki is reminded of his school days. Back then, he was an overweight, lonely student with no friends, no confidence, no hoes, and no memorable experiences. Even though his life has improved, he still wonders what could have happened if he had made different choices. Especially with his crush who shot him down the moment he confessed just because he was overweight, wishing with all his might that this had not been the case. After praying with all his heart, Natsuki wakes up in a familiar room. Looking in the mirror, he realizes that his body is the same as it was 20 years ago. Before he can process it, his younger sister Namika enters the room. Desperate to confirm whether this is real, Natsuki asks what year it is, and her answer confirms he has somehow traveled back in time. At first he believes he is dreaming and tries to go back to sleep, but when his mother wakes him, he finally accepts that he has been given another chance. Unlike before, Natsuki has no intention of wasting this opportunity. Instead of repeating the same lonely years, he decides to completely change his school experience and create the colorful adolescence he always wanted. With 1 month before school begins, Natsuki starts exercising and improving his appearance like he has the eye of the tiger. By the end of the month, he maxes out his look and reaches full clavicular status. During one of his jogs, he runs into his childhood friend, Miri. Although they have known each other for years, they barely interacted because Natsuki was too shy and withdrawn. Seeing how much he has changed, Miori is surprised by his transformation. When Natsuki mentions he is attending Ryomei Academy, he discovers Miori is going there as well. The next day, during the entrance ceremony, Natsuki immediately notices people paying attention to him. Among the students is Hikari, his old crush, and the moment their eyes meet, Natsuki is overwhelmed. After spending years regretting his past, he finally has another chance to get closer to the girl he always admired. This time, he is determined to make Hikari fall for him. Later, Natsuki checks the class list and feels relieved when he discovers that events are still unfolding the same way, with both him and Hikari placed in the same class. While exploring the classroom, he overhears a familiar conversation between 3 students. He introduces himself and learns they are Reita, Tatsuya, and Uta. Seeing Tatsuya again surprises Natsuki because in his previous life, Tatsuya eventually supported him. However, Tatsuya has no memory of those events and simply sees Natsuki as a new classmate. As they become friends, Uta quickly shows off her energetic personality, and when she notices Hikari, she immediately starts praising how cute she is, forcing Reita to calm her down. Soon after, Hikari's friend Yuino introduces herself and explains that she and Hikari have been close friends for years. When Uta introduces everyone, she accidentally leaves Natsuki out, forcing him to introduce himself directly to Hikari. While trying to make a good impression, he accidentally compliments her appearance, leaving both of them embarrassed. By the end of his first day, Natsuki realizes his new life is already different because, unlike before, he is invited to spend time with others. The group decides to explore the school clubs together, and for the first time, Natsuki feels like he is truly enjoying his youth. However, his past soon catches up with him when Miori approaches. Worried she might reveal who he used to be, Natsuki becomes nervous, but instead, Miori offers him a deal. She will keep his past a secret if he helps her get closer to Reita, the boy she has a crush on, and Natsuki immediately agrees. A week later, things continue going smoothly. When Uta becomes disappointed after the basketball club's plans are cancelled, Hikari invites her to spend the weekend together to cheer her up. Yuino joins as well, and soon the entire group, including Natsuki, is part of the plan. After school, Natsuki finally gets a chance to walk home with Hikari. Having waited for the right opportunity, he asks Hikari to create a group chat and suggests naming it after her. However, she refuses and names it after Natsuki instead, even using a photo of him as the group icon, leaving him embarrassed. Natsuki quickly changes it to a photo of Hikari, but Hikari refuses to lose, so she takes a picture of the two of them together and sets that as the icon instead. Before they can react, Yuino sends a message telling them to stop flirting and start cracking, leaving both Natsuki and Hikari embarrassed. As Natsuki looks at the photo, he realizes his second chance at school is already becoming completely different from his first. Later that day, Natsuki opens his wardrobe and realizes that, despite preparing for his new school life, he still has no decent clothes for the group hangout. Before he can figure out what to do, Miori calls because she needs information about Reita and wants to meet immediately. Natsuki agrees, but when Miori sees him wearing his jogging outfit again, she is shocked that it is the best outfit he owns. Natsuki admits it is all he has, so they make a deal. He will tell her about Reita if she helps him pick some proper clothes. They head to the mall, where Miori immediately takes charge and helps Natsuki improve his style. After finishing, Natsuki thanks her, and Miori is happy because she feels like they are now partners working toward their goals together. She reminds him of their agreement, but Natsuki realizes that behind all her schemes, Miori is genuinely trying to help him, and is actually a caring friend. The next day, everyone meets for their outing. Thanks to Miori, Natsuki arrives looking fly as hell. As he and Hikari exchange compliments, Natsuki silently thanks Miori for helping him. Their destination is an indoor sports facility, and since the billiards tables are occupied, Reita suggests table tennis instead. Hikari casually mentions that she is good at it like she's Marty Supreme. and everyone becomes interested. Tatsuya immediately challenges her, but Uta refuses to let him go first because she wants to face Hikari herself. Seeing the opportunity, Natsuki asks Hikari if she wants to play together, and she happily agrees. Her excitement catches him off guard because he finds her reaction unexpectedly adorable. The group splits into different tables. Reita then suggests holding a tournament to decide who the best player is, and the first match is Natsuki against Hikari. Natsuki serves, Hikari swings, and completely misses, making it obvious she exaggerated her skills. Yuino explains that Hikari's biggest weakness is her lack of athletic ability, and Hikari defends herself by saying she loves sports and knows plenty about them, even if her body does not cooperate. Finding her reaction adorable, Natsuki goes easy on her for the rest of the match. Eventually, all the boys win their matches, leaving the final showdown between Reita and Tatsuya. After an intense game, Reita comes out on top and becomes the unofficial champion. Tatsuya is disappointed by another loss and immediately wants to move on. Uta jokes that everyone should leave him alone because that is what close friends do, surprising Hikari. However, Reita explains that Tatsuya understands their friendship, and Yuino agrees they have become close enough to understand each other well. Hearing that affects Natsuki more than he expects because in his previous life, he never had friends who understood him like this. Later, the group sits down at a cafe to celebrate the beginning of their new school life. During the conversation, Reita compliments Natsuki's athletic ability, prompting Tatsuya to recruit him into the sports club. However, Natsuki politely refuses because he is looking for a part-time job. Uta suggests a convenience store or fast food restaurant, but Yuino surprises everyone by inviting Natsuki to visit her workplace. The invitation shocks the group, especially Hikari, and Yuino explains that she recently started working at a popular cafe, leaving Hikari frustrated because her best friend never told her. For a moment, Natsuki wonders if Yuino is interested in him, but she quickly clears up the misunderstanding, explaining that she only brought it up because someone was looking for work. A little later, Natsuki goes to get another drink, and Reita follows him. Reita admits he has noticed Natsuki acting unusually nervous around Tatsuya, and asks if something happened between them. Moved by Reita's concern, Natsuki explains that he does not dislike Tatsuya, but the problem is connected to his own past, and because he is responsible, he believes he has to solve it himself. After hearing that, Reita accepts his decision and chooses not to interfere. The group returns to the activity area, where Tatsuya and Uta immediately head for the basketball court. Watching them reminds Natsuki of his previous life. Back then, he never had the chance to play basketball with friends. Instead, he was always treated like an outsider and practiced alone until he became the next Michael Jordan. Now, after being given another chance, Natsuki wants to experience everything he missed. Reita tosses him the ball and invites him to play. Since it has been months since he last touched one, Natsuki expects to brick the shot, but instead, the ball swishes clean through the net like Curry. Everyone is surprised, including Natsuki himself. He realizes that his years of training and improved physique have carried over. He shoots again and swishes it like Kobe. The group is amazed, and Uta immediately tries convincing him to join the basketball club. Tatsuya is left speechless before admitting he is impressed, but says the real test is facing him one-on-one. Natsuki gladly accepts. For him, this is not just a basketball game, but a chance to overcome the fear and regret he carried from his previous life. As they face each other, Natsuki remembers practicing with Tatsuya every day. Because of those memories, he knows Tatsuya's style and movement. Using Tatsuya's own technique, Natsuki scores the first 2 points. Tatsuya answers with one of his own, refusing to go down easily. Then Natsuki notices Hikari cheering him on from the sidelines, and her support gives him even more confidence. He steals the ball, creates some space, and drains another impressive shot. Everyone erupts with excitement, especially Uta, who quickly becomes one of his biggest supporters. However, Tatsuya is not jealous. Instead, he simply smiles at Natsuki. Without saying a word, they both understand something important. This time, Natsuki is no longer alone, and he has finally found the kind of friendship he always wanted. A few days later, Natsuki starts working at the cafe Yuino mentioned. When he meets the manager, he immediately impresses him with his cooking skills, as years of living alone in the future have made preparing meals second nature. Yuino is also working there and is surprised by how capable he is. Before they can settle into work, the rest of the group suddenly arrives as customers. Although caught off guard, Natsuki has no choice but to treat them like normal customers. Yuino seats everyone, and Uta immediately starts making exaggerated comments about their jobs and experience. Natsuki points out she is making everything up, but Uta easily turns the situation around and teases him instead, showing how much closer they have become. She even takes a photo with Natsuki to prove it, leaving him embarrassed. Soon after, the whole group takes a picture together, and Yuino uploads it online. When Hikari sees the photo later, she cannot help feeling a little jealous. Natsuki then learns she could not join because of her strict curfew, making him worry that she might feel left out. Later, Uta gets hungry and decides to order food. When everyone realizes Natsuki is preparing their meals, they become excited to try his cooking. Once the food arrives, everyone enjoys it, and Uta even tries to get Tatsuya to feed her some omuris. He becomes too embarrassed, forcing her to eat it herself. While eating, Tatsuya mentions that despite only working there for a few days, Natsuki is already a better cook than the previous chef. The next day, their teacher announces that midterm exams are coming up, and Uta and Tatsuya immediately panic. Since club activities are suspended, the group stays. after school to study. While Uta and Tatsuya spend most of their time complaining, Natsuki and the others quietly focus on their work. When Hikari struggles with a question, she asks Natsuki for help. After he explains it, she smiles at him gratefully, leaving him flustered. Wanting to hide his feelings, he quickly returns to studying. Uta notices how easily he solves problems and calls him a genius. Since Natsuki cannot explain that he already has years of future experience, he gives her a simple answer instead. Still not satisfied, Uta asks Natsuki to tutor her personally. He agrees, but while helping her, he realizes she has moved much closer than expected. The two suddenly notice how close they are and quickly pull away, both embarrassed. Across the table, Tatsuya quietly notices the moment. Over the next few days, everyone gradually improves, including Uta and Tatsuya. They decide to meet again over the weekend for another study session. For Natsuki, moments like this are something he never experienced in his previous life. He never had friends who simply gathered to spend time together, so he eagerly agrees. However, he accidentally says something embarrassing while expressing his excitement. Uta simply laughs and tells him he is cool, leaving him embarrassed again. Later, Tatsuya pulls Natsuki aside and asks what he is thinking. Natsuki decides to be honest and admits that he likes Hikari, earning Tatsuya's respect for his honesty. Natsuki then asks who Tatsuya likes, but Tatsuya only smiles and avoids answering. The next day, everyone gathers at Yuino's cafe for another study session. Natsuki is surprised to find Miori already there with her friend, Sarika. Miori explains they happened to meet and decided to join, but Natsuki immediately becomes suspicious of her intentions. Once they begin studying, Natsuki gives Uta a notebook filled with corrections. He explains that he spent the previous night reviewing every question she answered incorrectly and writing explanations for each one. Since he used to tutor students in his previous life, helping others study comes naturally to him, and Uta is impressed by the effort he put in. Meanwhile, Miori takes the opportunity to get closer to Reita by asking him for help with a question. Natsuki tries to interrupt, but Miori quickly stops him. She then quietly tells Natsuki that Uta has been talking about him constantly lately, almost like someone developing feelings. Hearing that, Miori offers to help bring them together. Natsuki does not hate the idea, but before he can answer, Uta notices them whispering and asks what they are talking about. Natsuki quickly blurts out that they were discussing her, making Uta blush. Later that night, Natsuki and Miori walk home together. He tells him she is impressed by how well his school life has turned out, and Natsuki admits he always wanted to experience a more colorful adolescence. Miori laughs and tells him he is much closer to achieving that dream than he realizes, but refuses to explain what she means, leaving him confused. When he gets home, Natsuki receives a message from Hikari asking him to call her. She immediately brings up Tatsuya, saying she has noticed something has been bothering him lately. Although Natsuki has not noticed anything himself, he promises to check on him. Soon, exam day arrives. While the rest of the school is nervous, Natsuki and his friends remain calm after studying together every day. Once the results are released, everyone passes, so the group celebrates by going to karaoke. For Natsuki, this is another first. Although he has never gone to karaoke with friends before, he used to practice singing alone and has become surprisingly good. When his turn comes, he picks a song Uta likes and she eagerly joins him. At first they sing together, but Natsuki becomes so absorbed in the performance that he finishes the song on his own. When it ends, the room falls silent before everyone applauds. Natsuki grows embarrassed, while the girls are impressed by his unexpected talent, especially Uta, who wants to hear him sing again. Watching from the side, Tatsuya quietly stands up and leaves the room. Everyone is confused, but Natsuki senses something is wrong and follows him. When he catches up, Tatsuya asks to be left alone, but Natsuki refuses to ignore the problem. Eventually, Tatsuya admits that he sees Natsuki as someone talented, confident, and admired by everyone, making him feel inferior. After saying this, he walks away, leaving Natsuki speechless. Reita then approaches and explains the truth. Tatsuya has feelings for Uta, and watching her grow closer to Natsuki has been painful. To Tatsuya, Natsuki is the kind of person everyone naturally likes, while he feels like he cannot compete. Natsuki listens quietly, realizing that although he worked so hard to change his life, the person who helped him achieve it is now the one being hurt. At that moment, he understands that even after returning to the past, there is still one thing he has not fixed. He still struggles to understand the feelings of the people closest to him. Natsuki tries to convince himself that his plan for a colorful adolescence is still going exactly as planned, but deep down he knows that is not true. Ever since the karaoke incident, the group has slowly started falling apart. Tatsuya has been distancing himself, and because of that, everyone else has begun feeling the tension as well. For Natsuki, it feels like his old life is slowly returning, and he knows he cannot just ignore it. A few days after karaoke, Natsuki and Uta are looking at the first-year midterm rankings displayed at school. Uta is surprised to see Natsuki ranked first, but Natsuki is more impressed that Uta managed to achieve a respectable result after all the effort he put into helping her study. While they are talking, they overhear a group of girls nearby discussing Natsuki, who they see as a handsome, smart Chad who's probably packing heat. The attention makes Uta nervous. Seeing how popular Natsuki has become, she asks if he wants to spend time together over the weekend. However, Reita's words about Tatsuya immediately come back to him, and Natsuki realizes that accepting Uta's invitation right now could make Tatsuya feel even worse. Even though he wants to spend time with her, he turns her down. Uta tries to hide her disappointment, but Natsuki can tell she is hurt. After school, Natsuki walks home alone in the rain. As he walks, he keeps thinking about everything that has gone wrong and wonders where his dream of a better school life started falling apart. Suddenly, Mayuri pops up and immediately notices that something is bothering him. She brings up the colorful adolescence he always wanted, but hearing those words when he already feels like he is failing frustrates Natsuki. He snaps at her and tells her to stop trying to help him. Later, when Natsuki arrives home, he finds Miori already waiting in his room. She casually lies on his bed as if she belongs there, leaving him confused. Looking around, Miori points out that his room has barely changed since childhood, and the familiar comment catches Natsuki off guard. Then she notices a manga on his shelf and picks it up, and the cover immediately embarrasses Natsuki, and he tries to take it back. The two struggle over it and end up in an awkward position, and Miori becomes serious. She tells Natsuki that Uta has been acting differently lately. Since they are in the same club, Miori has noticed something is bothering her, but every time she asks, Uta refuses to explain. Miori wonders if Natsuki knows anything, and he honestly tells her that he does not. However, Miori did not come to talk only about Uta, but she came because she knows something is wrong with him. She already understands that his dream of having the perfect school life is starting to collapse, and she wants to know why. At first, Natsuki struggles to open up, but when Miori starts comforting him like she used to when they were younger, he finally begins to break down his walls. She reminds him that even back then, when she could not change his situation, she always wanted to support him. She wanted to become the kind of friend he never had. Miori admits that watching Natsuki struggle back then was painful, and seeing him return to that same lonely mindset now worries her. Her words reach him, and for the first time in a while, Natsuki allows himself to admit what has been bothering him. After hearing the full story about karaoke, Miori is surprised by how much responsibility Natsuki has placed on himself. She tells him that he does not need to apologize for everything, and that Tatsuya's insecurity is something Tatsuya himself has to overcome, insisting that Natsuki stop blaming himself and stop holding himself back because he is afraid of hurting someone else. Hearing that gives Natsuki the courage he has been missing. The next day, Natsuki finds Tatsuya and asks him to talk privately. The two head to the school rooftop, and instead of apologizing, Natsuki tells Tatsuya the truth that running away from his feelings will not solve anything, and if he wants to improve, he needs to face the things that scare him. Then Natsuki remembers another part of Miori's advice, so he takes out his phone and shows Tatsuya a picture of the chopped gremlin that he was before, and Tatsuya is shocked. He cannot believe that the person in the photo is the same person standing in front of him now. As he looks through Natsuki's old pictures, he finally understands how much Natsuki has changed. Natsuki then tells him that Tatsuya was never someone who needed to compete with him. The person Uta has always spent time with is Tatsuya himself, and if anyone has the right to chase after her, it is him. And Natsuki was never the obstacle. The two finally understand each other, and the tension between them disappears. However, Tatsuya does not know how to return to the group after everything that happened. Before they can figure it out, the rooftop door opens, and the entire group is standing there, having heard everything. Both Natsuki and Tatsuya freeze, but Tatsuya immediately faces the biggest shock when Uta steps forward. She tells him honestly that she only sees him as a friend, and the words hit him hard. Realizing how painful that sounded, Uta quickly tries to apologize and comfort him, but her attempts only make the situation more awkward. Reita eventually steps in to calm things down. Then the girls reveal that they also heard everything Natsuki said about his past. Yuino tells him that there is nothing wrong with acknowledging who he used to be, making Natsuki extremely embarrassed. Soon, everyone becomes curious about the old photo of Natsuki, and he immediately regrets showing it. However, Tatsuya finally recovers enough to complain that Natsuki dragged him into this embarrassing situation too. The argument breaks the remaining tension, and for the first time in days, the group feels like themselves again. Reita steps in and helps settle things between them. As Tatsuya leaves the rooftop, he stops before going through the door. He looks back at Uta and tells her that he is not giving up. The comment catches Uta completely off guard, leaving her embarrassed. Meanwhile, Natsuki realizes something important, that his second chance at youth is not about creating a perfect life, but it is about building real memories with the people who matter. Later, Natsuki remembers what Miori told him in his room. She admitted how much she cared about him, not because of the person he became, but because she had always accepted who he was. However, her feelings were not romantic. To Miori, Natsuki was simply the childhood friend she had always wanted to support. Thinking back on her words, Natsuki feels nothing but gratitude. Even now, Miori continues helping him chase the colorful adolescence he always wanted. The next night, Natsuki is working with Yuino at the cafe when there are only a few minutes left before closing. Suddenly, Miori appears and explains that she has been waiting because they need to discuss their plan for getting closer to Reita. Yuino is immediately confused and serves Miori a drink while trying to understand what is happening. Miori admits she waited until closing because she wanted to walk home with Natsuki, instantly making Yuino suspicious. She asks if they are dating, but Natsuki quickly denies it. That only confuses Yuino more because she cannot understand why someone would wait around just to walk home together unless they were in a relationship. After work, Natsuki and Miori walk home together. Natsuki worries about her being outside so late, but Miori teases him, saying he should not say things like that to a girl because he is sending the wrong message. Natsuki understands what she means, but he is convinced Miori only sees him as a childhood friend and still likes Reita. During the train ride, Miori finally reveals her plan. She wants to set up a double date, with Natsuki inviting Hikari while she invites Reita so they can both spend time with the people they like. Natsuki immediately rejects the idea. Going on a date with Hikari is already overwhelming enough, and adding the pressure of helping Miori only makes him more nervous. Miori calls him a coward, leaving him with no choice but to accept. The next day, Natsuki visits the library to find Hikari. Remembering that the best way to make her comfortable is to act naturally, he starts a conversation about a detective book. Hikari happily helps him find it, and once she relaxes, Natsuki asks if she wants to watch a popular detective movie together. Hikari hesitates, making Natsuki nervous, but eventually agrees. She then asks if anyone else will be joining them. Panicking, Natsuki quickly explains that Miori will also be there and plans to invite Reita. Hikari immediately understands that Miori is trying to get closer to Reita, leaving Natsuki relieved that she did not misunderstand his intentions. Afterward, Natsuki invites Reita, who agrees without hesitation. However, once Reita leaves, Uta returns to the classroom. After hearing about the movie, she says she wants to come, even though she is not interested in the film itself. The situation quickly becomes awkward. Natsuki realizes Uta's feelings may be stronger than he expected, but his own feelings are still focused on Hikari. Instead, he suggests they spend time together another day. The moment she hears that, Uta becomes overjoyed, blushes, and quickly leaves the classroom. Now Natsuki has another problem. He wants to avoid hurting Uta without damaging the friendship they have built. Since he has never dealt with someone having feelings for him before, he has no idea how to handle it. A few days later, Natsuki meets Miori before the date and explains everything. Miori thinks there is a chance Natsuki is starting to develop feelings for Uta, reminding him of the moment during studying when they almost got too close. However, she tells him that if he does not feel the same way, he should not force himself. Instead, she advises him to treat Uta normally because handling it poorly could damage the entire friend group. When the day of the double date arrives, Natsuki and Miori meet Reita and Hikari at the theater. While waiting for the movie, the group walks around the mall. Natsuki reminds Miori not to get too distracted with Hikari because the whole point is to spend time with Reita. When Reita notices how close Natsuki and Miori are, he questions their relationship. Miori casually explains they are only childhood friends with no romantic feelings. Hearing that, Hikari pulls Natsuki away to give Miori and Reita more time together. The two simply smile, understanding what she is trying to do. During the movie, Natsuki finally gets to sit beside Hikari. However, instead of focusing on the film, he spends most of his time admiring her. Afterward, everyone goes out for lunch. Reita and Miori finish eating quickly thanks to their athletic backgrounds. Watching them together, Natsuki realizes they actually make a great pair and feels genuinely happy for them. However, before the day ends, several girls from Miori's basketball club approach her. They are surprised she skipped practice to spend time with a boy. Miori refuses to back down, making it clear she can choose how she spends her own time. After they leave, she apologizes for ruining the mood, but Natsuki can tell something is bothering her. By the end of the day, Hikari heads home first. Before leaving, Reita quietly pulls Natsuki aside and says he can tell something is wrong with Miori, asking him to look after her. On the train ride home, Natsuki tries asking Miori about it, but she immediately insists she is fine, only making him more concerned. A few days later, Natsuki goes to watch Miori play basketball. He is amazed by her talent, but something feels different. She is playing with a level of anger and frustration he has never seen before. After the game, Miori notices Natsuki waiting outside. He explains that he came because he was worried about her, but she becomes angry and tells him to stay out of her problems. Before Natsuki can understand what is happening, Uta appears and explains the situation. Although Miori is only a first-year student, she has already earned a starting position on the basketball team. Because of that, a girl named Rika has become jealous and uses Miori's occasional absences from practice as an excuse to criticize her. Uta admits she does not know how to solve the problem, but wants to find a way to cheer Miori up. Before leaving, Tatsuya arrives and immediately understands what they are discussing. He already knows about Rika, and seeing Uta upset frustrates him. Although he worries interfering could make things worse, he still wants to help her. That night, Natsuki cannot stop thinking about Miori. He cannot understand why someone who had always been kind to everyone, especially during his loneliest days, has changed so much. Then Uta calls him. During their first video chat, both are nervous. Uta admits that seeing Natsuki's face makes her happy, and that he has become one of the reasons she enjoys waking up every day, leaving him flustered. However, she soon changes the subject and reveals that Rika confronted her. Uta tried talking things out, but Rika refused to listen and continued blaming Miori. Hearing this, Natsuki begins to wonder if there is more to the situation than he realized. He asks Uta to help him fix things with Miori. The next day, Natsuki waits outside Miori's classroom. The moment she sees him, she immediately knows why he is there. Neither of them says a word. They simply stare at each other, both refusing to back down. Natsuki decides that the only way to get through to Miori is to make her face the problem she has been avoiding. His method is simple: a basketball game. He brings Uta along as the referee, and Miori cannot believe that Natsuki of all people thinks he can challenge her. Natsuki proposes a bet. If he loses, he will do anything Miori Miyori asks. But if he wins, she has to tell him everything she has been hiding. Miyori immediately understands what he is trying to do. He is forcing her to confront the feelings she has been avoiding. Still, she accepts. The match goes exactly how Natsuki expects. Thanks to the skills he developed in his previous life, he wins easily. Miyori is stunned. She cannot believe that the person standing in front of her now is the same Natsuki she remembers from before. However, she accepted the bet, so she prepares to tell him the truth. Before she can say anything, Natsuki suddenly hugs her. Both Miyori and Uta are surprised by his actions, but as Miyori feels the sincerity behind his gesture, she finally breaks down. She admits that she hates being seen as weak. She does not want people to worry about her, and that is why she always tries to handle everything alone. But now, she feels lost. She has reached a point where she does not know what to do anymore. As he holds her, Natsuki realizes something important. He has spent so much time trying to fix everyone else's problems that he never thought about what to do when someone actually needed him. Eventually, Miyori calms down, and almost immediately she returns to her usual self by teasing Uta for looking jealous. Seeing that she can joke again, Natsuki knows she is starting to recover. Before explaining everything, Miyori asks him one thing. She asks him not to abandon her again. Those words hit Natsuki deeply because they remind him of middle school. Back then, he distanced himself from Miyori because he was afraid his reputation would drag her down with him. He sacrificed their friendship because he thought he was protecting her. Now he realizes how much that hurt her. Finally, Miyori tells him what happened. When she earned a starting position on the basketball team, she was incredibly happy. She knew opportunities like that were rare and wanted to prove herself. However, instead of trusting her teammates, she started trying to do everything herself. She stopped relying on others and began making decisions alone. Eventually, her teammates became frustrated with her. One day, she overhears upperclassmen criticizing her behavior. She pretends it does not bother her, but it affects the way she plays. She becomes even more determined to prove herself, forcing every play and trying to carry the entire team by herself. Her teammates confront her about it, but instead of listening, Miyori refuses to admit she is wrong. After hearing everything, Natsuki understands the real problem. Miyori is not struggling because others are against her. She is struggling because she has forgotten how to trust the people around her. To start fixing that, Natsuki decides to teach her something simple: passing. At first, Miyori and Natsuki pass the ball easily between them, but when she tries passing to Uta, the ball comes flying way too hard. The mistake reveals something important. Miyori trusts Natsuki completely, but she is still uncomfortable relying on other people. Instead of criticizing her, Natsuki, Uta, and Miyori continue practicing together. They spend hours passing the ball around until Miyori slowly begins learning how to work with others again. By the end, Miyori feels like she can finally move forward. However, she still struggles when it comes to trusting her teammates. Natsuki tells her that she can rely on him whenever she needs someone on her side. After all, he understands what it feels like to be judged by others. Miyori is grateful to have someone like him supporting her. Of course, seeing their bond makes Uta slightly jealous. To cheer her up, Natsuki tells Uta that she should be the person who supports and encourages Miyori whenever he is not around. That immediately brings back her smile. A few days later, Natsuki hears that Miyori has been slowly improving thanks to both him and Uta. That night, just as he is about to sleep, the doorbell rings. When he goes downstairs, he is surprised to see Miyori standing there. Even Natsuki's sister is shocked because she has never seen him interact with Miyori like this before. Miyori explains that she has something to ask him, so Natsuki walks her home. She wants him to come watch her basketball game the next day. She makes it clear that she is not forcing him, but Natsuki agrees immediately. Miyori cannot hide how happy that makes her. The next day, Natsuki goes to watch Miyori play against another school. Seeing her enjoying herself again makes him happy. During the game, Miyori shows off the skills that made her earn a starting position, but this time something is different. Instead of trying to do everything herself, she starts trusting her teammates. When she tells Rika that she is going to pass the ball, it becomes the moment where their relationship finally changes. By the end of the game, the two are laughing together, and the conflict between them is finally resolved. Natsuki watches with a smile. Miyori does not need him to solve everything anymore. She has found her own confidence. However, seeing how much effort Natsuki put into helping Miyori leaves Uta feeling conflicted. She is happy for her friend, but she cannot ignore the feelings she has for Natsuki. Later, the group begins discussing the upcoming festival. Before anyone else can make plans, Uta pulls Natsuki aside and asks him to go with her, alone. To everyone's surprise, Natsuki agrees. On the day of the festival, Natsuki is nervous. When Uta arrives wearing a yukata, it is clear that she made an effort because she wanted to impress him. The two walk around together, both aware that this feels like a date. That realization makes them both shy. At one point, Uta wants cotton candy, and Natsuki looks at her with the same expression someone would have, watching a younger sibling enjoy something simple. Uta immediately gets annoyed. She does not want him to see her as someone cute to protect. She wants him to see her as a girl. Natsuki finally understands what she means. Later, Natsuki gets hungry and suggests eating at the food stall run by Uta's parents. However, Uta becomes embarrassed at the idea of them seeing her together. So instead, they buy yakisoba and sit together. The two eat side by side, looking more like a couple with every passing moment. When Uta offers Natsuki the rest of her food, he realizes what it means. However, he assumes she does not care and eats it anyway. Then he notices her reaction. The blush on her face tells him she definitely noticed. Embarrassed, Uta quickly runs away before the situation becomes even more awkward. As they continue exploring the festival, Natsuki starts noticing something. The more time he spends with Uta, the more comfortable he feels around her. For a moment, he begins wondering if his feelings are changing, but then he remembers Hikari. That thought brings him back to reality. Even so, he and Uta continue enjoying the festival together. Later, they stop to write their wishes. Natsuki writes that he wants to experience the best youth possible. When Uta sees it, she quietly changes her own wish because the original one is too embarrassing to show anyone. Natsuki does not understand why. As the festival ends, the two walk home. At one point, Uta takes his hand because she wants to remember the moment. When they finally reach her family's restaurant, they say goodbye. For a moment, it seems like the day ends normally, but then Uta suddenly runs back. Before Natsuki can react, she kisses him on the cheek. He freezes. Uta tells him that she is serious about her feelings. She knows someone already has a place in his heart, but she is determined to make him notice her. Natsuki is left speechless. What he does not know is that Uta's original festival wish was simple. She wished that one day Natsuki would fall in love with her. Elsewhere, Hikari is working on a novel about a girl who falls in love with a boy. As she writes, it becomes clear that the story is heavily inspired by her own experiences with Natsuki. When she finally finishes, someone knocks on her door, causing her to quickly close her laptop as if she does not want anyone to see it. The next day, Natsuki arrives at school without a jacket as summer approaches. Hikari is the first person to greet him, but the moment he notices Uta nearby, he remembers the kiss she gave him at the festival. Both Natsuki and Uta immediately become embarrassed, and Hikari notices the strange atmosphere between them. Later, Natsuki talks with Reita about his feelings. He admits that he is starting to have feelings for both Uta and Hikari. Reita realizes that Natsuki has a difficult decision ahead of him, but he promises to support whichever choice Natsuki makes. However, Reita also asks him to stay away from Miuri because he has feelings for her. Afterward, the group begins discussing their plans for summer vacation. Natsuki suggests going to the beach, and everyone agrees. Everyone except Hikari. She wants to join them, but she knows her situation makes it difficult. After school, Natsuki works at the cafe and takes the opportunity to ask Ueno about Hikari. Ueno explains that Hikari has a strict father, which is why she always has to leave quickly after school. Natsuki is disappointed, but Ueno encourages him not to give up. She suggests that they come up with a plan and try to make it possible for Hikari to join. That night, Natsuki talks with Miuri about the beach trip. As usual, Miuri helps him by sending several suggestions and ideas. She also teases him about spending time with Uta and Hikari at the beach, which immediately makes him embarrassed. However, the conversation suddenly changes when Miuri remembers that Uta kissed Natsuki. She quickly ends the call, leaving Natsuki confused. The next morning, Natsuki is walking to school alone when Hikari appears. He immediately notices how beautiful she looks, and he is surprised by how cheerful she seems. Taking the opportunity, Natsuki brings up the beach trip and asks about her parents. Hikari opens up about her situation and admits that her relationship with them is complicated. Hearing her speak negatively about them surprises Natsuki because he has always seen Hikari as someone kind and positive. However, Hikari does not give up. She believes that if she approaches her father the right way, she can get permission. Seeing that determination makes Natsuki want to understand her even more. Later, the group gathers again to discuss the beach trip. Natsuki takes charge and presents the details, including the location, the place they will stay, the budget, and the schedule. Everyone is impressed by how prepared he is. Because of his previous life experience, Natsuki has learned how to organize things by watching others, and now those skills are finally helping him. Seeing how excited everyone is makes Hikari feel left behind. She reminds everyone that she still needs permission before she can join. Tatsuya immediately says that the trip would be better with Hikari there because she is genuinely fun to spend time with. The comment surprises everyone. Hikari thanks him and promises that she will do everything she can to get permission. When summer vacation begins, Natsuki is excited, but the beach trip is still several days away. During that time, he spends his mornings helping his younger sister and his afternoons working at the cafe. One day, Yuno asks him to help her buy something at the mall, and Natsuki agrees. While shopping, Yuno suddenly asks for his opinion on swimwear, catching him completely off guard. Later, while walking through the mall, they unexpectedly run into Hikari and her father. Her father introduces himself and quickly realizes that Natsuki is the person going on the beach trip Hikari mentioned. However, he immediately refuses to allow it. He explains that Hikari told him it was supposed to be a girls-only trip. Natsuki recognizes him as the president of a company he once interviewed with in his previous life. He already knows that he is someone difficult to deal with. After they leave, Natsuki and Ueno sit down for lunch. Ueno talks about Hikari and explains how much she wants to help her. She reveals that she has been trying to support Hikari for years, but every time they make progress, things eventually return to the same situation. Then Ueno explains their childhood. Back then, they were completely different people. Ueno was always outgoing and surrounded by others, while Hikari was quiet and struggled to make friends. Even so, Ueno reached out to her, and the two quickly became close. One day, Hikari brought Ueno home. During that visit, Hikari's father told her that she should become more cheerful and outgoing like Ueno. That moment changed everything. The cheerful and friendly Hikari everyone knows today is actually someone who has spent years hiding her true personality. After learning that Natsuki has feelings for Hikari, Yuino gives him something that might help. The next day, Natsuki visits a cafe and finds Hikari there wearing glasses. He explains that Yuino sent him, and Hikari happily welcomes him. There, Natsuki discovers that Hikari has been writing a novel. Yuino used to visit her and give her advice about her writing, but this time she asked Natsuki to take her place. Natsuki reads through the story and is surprised by how talented Hikari is. The novel itself is set at the beach. That is when Natsuki realizes something. Hikari does not just want to join the trip, she truly wants to experience those memories with everyone. That night, Natsuki cannot stop thinking about her. He remembers how happy she looked when she held his hand, thanked him, and promised that she would do everything she could to join them. Then his phone receives a message. It is from Hikari. She sends him a picture of the train station closest to his house. Confused, Natsuki immediately calls her. When she answers, he learns the truth. Hikari has run away from home. Episode 8. Natsuki immediately rushes to the train station and finds Hikari sitting alone on a bench. She looks completely defeated. When he approaches her, Hikari explains that she had a fight with her father and could not handle it anymore, so she ran away and came straight to him. Natsuki tries to reassure her and tells her she made the right choice by coming to him. However, he quickly realizes something. He has no idea what he is supposed to do next, so instead he brings her back to his house. Once they arrive, Hikari ends up alone in Natsuki's room. It is her first time being inside a boy's room, and she becomes curious about what kind of person he really is. Seeing his belongings and the things he likes makes her feel closer to him. Then suddenly, Natsuki's sister walks in. She freezes when she sees a girl inside her brother's room at night. Without saying anything, she slowly backs away and closes the door. Natsuki immediately realizes what she must be thinking and chases after her to explain the situation. Surprisingly, his sister is not angry at all. Instead, she is completely supportive and seems ready to help her brother. Natsuki quickly stops her before she gets the wrong idea and explains that Hikari is only a friend. When he returns to his room, he finds Hikari already starting to relax. He offers to let her take a shower, and that is when he learns something unexpected. Hikari originally planned to stay at a hotel, but after everything happened, she thought of coming to him instead. Hearing that makes Natsuki embarrassed. While Hikari is showering, Natsuki starts panicking. There is a girl staying at his house. His parents are not around, and he has no idea how to handle the situation. Then Hikari comes out wearing her sleeping clothes, making him even more nervous. Natsuki suggests that she sleep in his mother's room, but Hikari says she would rather stay near him. The atmosphere immediately becomes awkward. After preparing a futon, the two finally sit down and talk. Hikari explains that her father has been constantly contacting her, but she is not worried because she already told her mother where she is. She then reveals what happened. That day, she barely made it home before curfew, and her father became angry. When she tried explaining how she spent her time, everything changed the moment he found out she was writing a novel with a friend. He dismissed her hobby and told her to stop spending time with her friends. That was the moment Hikari finally reached her limit. She explains that this is not the first time she has argued with him, but this time felt different. Then Hikari opens up about her past. When she was younger, she was quiet, awkward, and had trouble making friends. However, her father wanted her to become a cheerful and popular girl, so she slowly changed herself into the person everyone knows today. But deep down, it was painful because she felt like she was hiding who she really was. She shows Natsuki a photo of her younger self. The girl in the picture is completely different from the Hikari everyone knows now. Quiet, reserved, but genuine. Hikari tells him that writing is the one thing that allows her to express her true feelings. Through her novels, she can finally be herself, and because of that, she wants to become an author who can bring happiness to others. Later that night, everyone else is asleep, but Natsuki and Hikari are still awake. In the darkness, Hikari calls out to him. She tells him that she likes him. Natsuki freezes. For a moment, he believes this is the moment he has been waiting for. But then Hikari continues. She explains that she likes him and everyone else is friends. The moment disappears instantly. She also admits that when they first met, she disliked him. To her, Natsuki seemed like someone who had everything. He was talented, confident, and seemed impossible to understand. But after learning about his past, she realized he was someone who had struggled just like her. And despite everything he went through, he still became someone kind. She thanks him for being there for her and eventually falls asleep. The next morning, Natsuki wakes up. The first thing he sees is Hikari wearing her glasses. The sight completely catches him off guard. When he finally recovers, Hikari notices his reaction and teases him for blushing. But Natsuki manages to tease her back, which surprises her. Then his sister walks in and asks for breakfast. While eating, Natsuki realizes something important. He cannot let Hikari stay at his house forever. He needs to find a real solution. Later, Natsuki sits down with Hikari and talks through their options. His idea is simple. They need to show her father that writing is not just some hobby, it is something meaningful to her. So Natsuki brings her to a cafe where they can work without interruptions. Hikari does not know it, but Natsuki already knows a lot about her father from his previous life. However, he keeps that information to himself and simply tells her that he researched him. Together, they decide that the best way to change his mind is by showing him her writing. If he sees how talented she is, maybe he will finally understand. While they are reviewing her novel, Yuino calls. Natsuki invites her over and Hikari explains what happened. She tells Yuino that she did not go to her house because she wants to face this problem herself, but she will stay there after everything is settled. Later, Natsuki returns home feeling like they have made progress. Then his phone rings. It is Hikari. She asks him directly about his feelings for her. Both of them become nervous, but Natsuki answers honestly. However, when Hikari asks him who he truly likes, he cannot answer because the truth is complicated. He has feelings for Hikari, but he also has feelings for Uta. And for the first time, Natsuki realizes that his second chance at youth has created a problem he never expected. The next day, Natsuki reads Hikari's revised novel. The improvements are incredible. Before he can properly praise her, someone suddenly appears. Hikari's father has arrived. He tries to take her home. Natsuki grabs Hikari's hand, giving her the courage to finally speak her mind. And this time, Hikari does not hold back. She tells her father how much his expectations have hurt her. She tells him she is tired of living as the person he wants her to be. She wants to make her own choices. Her father tries to reason with her, but Hikari stands firm. She asks him to read her novel and judge her dream for himself. Her father agrees, but only if she comes home first. Everyone understands that it is a reasonable request. Now the choice belongs to Hikari. Watching her stand up for herself reminds Natsuki of his own past. He remembers everything he knows about her father. And deep down, he believes one thing. Her father is not someone who wants to hurt her. He just needs to finally understand the person Hikari truly is. Natsuki thinks back to the summer vacation from his previous life. Back then he had no friends, no plans, and spent the entire break alone at home. But this time is different. Now he has the friends he always wished for, and he cannot wait to experience the colorful adolescence he once believed was impossible. The group meets at the train station, where they are joined by Yuino and Hikari after Hikari finally receives permission to come on the trip. During the ride, Natsuki gets the chance to talk with Sarika, one of Uta's friends. As they chat, Sarika becomes curious about him and starts asking questions. Before Natsuki can answer, Hikari jumps into the conversation and ends up telling Sarika everything about him herself. Watching the two of them talk makes Uta noticeably jealous. A little later, Sarika asks whether Natsuki and Uta are dating because she remembers seeing them together at the festival. The question instantly reminds both of them about the kiss on the cheek, causing them to blush before quickly denying it. Their reaction does not go unnoticed, and even Hikari looks slightly bothered by the exchange. As the trip continues, Natsuki and Sarika strike up another conversation. It turns out they share an unexpected interest. Natsuki has always loved rock music, while Sarika is a member of a band. The two quickly lose themselves discussing their favorite music, and when Sarika casually invites him to come watch the band sometime, Natsuki finds himself genuinely interested. Meanwhile, Hikari and Uta can only watch the two of them talk, leaving both girls feeling slightly left out. After arriving at the villa, everyone's excitement immediately starts building. Not long afterward, they head to the beach. Natsuki, Reita, and Tatsuya wait for the girls to finish changing, each pretending to stay calm despite knowing what is coming. Soon, the girls finally appear in their swimsuits. The boys cannot help but be impressed. Natsuki compliments Miori on how she looks, but before the conversation can continue, Reita naturally draws her over to his side. Watching them together, everyone can tell how comfortable they have become around each other. Eventually, everyone pairs off, leaving Natsuki with Hikari. As they walk together, they end up talking about Reita and Miuri, both agreeing that they already look like a couple. Then their hands accidentally brush together. Both of them immediately freeze. Before Natsuki can react, Hikari shyly reaches over and gently holds onto his arm. Embarrassed, she asks what he thinks of her swimsuit. Natsuki honestly tells her that she looks beautiful. His answer makes Hikari's face light up with happiness. With that, everyone begins enjoying their day at the beach. They swim together, play games in the sand, and spend the afternoon making memories. By the end of the day, Natsuki is completely exhausted. While resting, he notices Sarika proudly showing off an elaborate sandcastle she spent hours building, leaving him genuinely impressed. Eventually, everyone gathers together to relax. They enjoy cold drinks, joke around with one another, and simply appreciate being together. Looking around, Natsuki cannot help smiling when he sees how happy Hikari looks. Later, the group heads into town to buy groceries for the evening barbecue. On the way back, Sarika casually asks Reita whether he and Miori are dating. Reita avoids giving a direct answer, but his reaction is enough for Natsuki to understand how he really feels. Once they return, everyone begins preparing dinner. Uta takes charge of the barbecue and quietly makes sure Natsuki receives the best portion. The food is a huge success and everyone enjoys the meal together. Afterward, Tatsuya finishes off the remaining food, while everyone else starts wandering off in small groups. Natsuki ends up sitting alone, quietly looking up at the night sky. A few moments later, Hikari joins him. Without saying much, she gently takes his hand. Natsuki's heart begins racing. He wants to treasure the moment, but at the same time, he cannot ignore the feelings he has also begun developing for Uta. The conflict inside him makes him hesitate. Sensing his uncertainty, Hikari quietly lets go of his hand. Not long afterward, Uta arrives and immediately notices the atmosphere between them. Although she tries to hide it, the jealousy on her face is obvious. Before anyone can say anything, Sarika appears carrying a bundle of fireworks. The sudden change of mood allows everyone to relax again. The group spends the evening setting off fireworks together. When one of them startles Hikari, she instinctively hides behind Natsuki, using him as a shield. Later, Uta quietly asks Natsuki to come with her. The two step away from the others and light a small firework together. During the moment, Uta casually reveals that she has already prepared a surprise for Natsuki's upcoming birthday. The fact that she remembered catches him completely off guard. They share a quiet moment together before returning to the group. That night, Natsuki lies awake, unable to sleep. His thoughts continue drifting back and forth between Hikari and Uta. He finally has the friendships and experiences he dreamed about in his previous life. Yet the feelings growing inside him have become more complicated than he ever imagined. Unable to fall asleep, he quietly leaves the villa and walks toward the beach to watch the sunrise. When he arrives, he discovers that Hikari is already there. She tells him that the beach has always been a place where she can forget her worries and find peace. She also talks about her dream of improving her novel and the future she wants to create for herself. Listening to her, Natsuki asks whether he has really helped her become strong enough to move forward. The question makes Hikari smile. Then she takes a few steps toward the ocean before turning back to face him. With quiet determination, she tells him that she intends to win his heart, even if Uta is standing in her way. Hearing those words, Natsuki realizes just how complicated his second chance at youth has become. A few days after the beach trip, Hikari still cannot stop thinking about Natsuki. After reflecting on everything they have been through together, she finally admits to herself that her feelings for him have grown into something much stronger. The only problem is Uta. Knowing that Uta loves Natsuki too makes Hikari hesitate. But after thinking it over, she decides the only thing she can do is be honest. She gathers the courage to talk to Uta about both Natsuki and her feelings. Meanwhile, summer vacation continues, and Natsuki spends most of his time working at Yuino's cafe. While working there, he meets a student named Mei Shinohara, who attends the same school. As they talk, Natsuki cannot help noticing how much Mei reminds him of his former self. Quiet, reserved, and unsure of himself. Seeing Mei brings back memories of who he used to be and gives Natsuki a new idea. Not long afterward, Uta messages him and asks him to meet everyone at the mall. When Natsuki arrives, he finds Uta, Miori, and Sarika waiting for him. It turns out Sarika wants to hear him sing again, so the four of them head to karaoke. The atmosphere quickly becomes lively, and before long, Natsuki steps up to the microphone. He gives the performance everything he has, leaving the room completely captivated. When the song ends, Sarika excitedly announces that she has developed a crush on him. Both Uta and Miori immediately freeze. Thankfully, Sarika quickly explains that she means his singing voice. The awkward atmosphere instantly disappears and everyone bursts into laughter. After karaoke, the group heads home. The next day, while walking through school, he hears the sound of electric guitar echoing from one of the music rooms. Curious, he opens the door. Inside, he finds Sarika passionately practicing by herself. The performance is so captivating that he stays to listen. Afterward, the two begin talking about music. Sarika even gives him a few pointers on playing the guitar. And Natsuki quickly realizes that despite all his hobbies, this is one skill he never had the chance to learn. The two spend the afternoon talking about music and guitars, enjoying each other's company. Before long, another student opens the door. Seeing Sarika laughing with Natsuki, the boy immediately assumes she is spending time alone with her boyfriend, before quietly leaving again. Sarika cannot help laughing at the misunderstanding. As they continue talking, Sarika opens up about herself. She explains that expressing her emotions has always been difficult, but music has always allowed her to say the things she cannot put into words. Playing the guitar has been part of her life since childhood. Just as Natsuki prepares to leave, Sarika suddenly asks him to start a band with her. The invitation completely catches him off guard. She explains that she wants him to become the vocalist because she believes his voice is exactly what her music needs. At first, Natsuki declines, but then he remembers how much he admired the school bands in his previous life. He realizes this is another opportunity he never had before. Sarika reaches out her hand, asking him to build something together. After a brief moment of hesitation, Natsuki accepts. The following day, the two officially decide to form a band. However, they quickly run into their first obstacle. They need more members. Sarika confidently says she can recruit the student who walked in on them the previous day. His name is Kengo, and she believes he will eventually come around. The only position still left open is bassist. Before heading home, Natsuki asks Sarika to help him choose his first guitar. After finally buying one, he cannot hide his excitement. Music has always been one of his greatest passions, and now he finally has the chance to pursue it properly. When he arrives home carrying the guitar, his sister immediately questions whether he will actually stick with it. Natsuki simply plugs it in and starts practicing. Seeing how serious he is, she becomes excited at the thought of watching him perform at the cultural festival someday. Later that evening, Hikari gives him a call. She happily tells him that she has submitted her novel to a writing competition, thanking him for giving her the confidence to chase her dream. Natsuki congratulates her before mentioning that he has decided to join a band. When he casually says that Sarika has been helping him, Hikari feels a small pang of jealousy. Even so, she smiles and congratulates him, knowing they have always inspired each other to move forward. The next day, Natsuki officially auditions as the band's vocalist. His performance immediately impresses Kengo. However, Kengo reveals that there is a problem. His parents expect him to become a doctor, meaning he will only be able to stay in the band for 1 year. Rather than letting everyone become attached, he considers turning them down immediately. Sarika refuses to accept that. Instead, she suggests they simply perform together until the cultural festival. She tells Kengo that even if their time together is short, he deserves one last chance to enjoy the thing he loves most. Her words resonate with him, and he finally agrees to join. Now, only one member is missing. Later, while working at the cafe, Natsuki runs into Mei again. During their conversation, Mei casually mentions that he has been thinking about buying a bass guitar. The moment Natsuki hears that, an idea immediately comes to mind. The following day, he and Sarika invite Mei to meet them. Although Mei worries that his quiet personality will not fit the group, Natsuki understands exactly how he feels because he used to be the same way. With encouragement from both Natsuki and Sarika, Mei finds the confidence to join. With all 4 members finally together, they begin their first practice session. As soon as they start playing, students throughout the school stop what they are doing to listen. When the song comes to an end, the 4 of them look at each other in disbelief. Their chemistry feels completely natural. Before long, word begins spreading throughout the school. A brand new band has been formed, and everyone is already eager to hear them perform again. One day before summer vacation comes to an end, Hikari and Uta spend the day together at the mall. They have so much fun that before long they begin feeling more like sisters than rivals. After walking around for hours, they sit down on a park bench and watch a group of children playing nearby. Seeing how peaceful the moment feels, Hikari decides it is finally time to be honest. She tells Uta that she has fallen for Natsuki. Hikari immediately apologizes. Worried that admitting her feelings might hurt her friend, instead of getting upset, Uta smiles. She tells Hikari there is no way she is giving up on Natsuki without a fight. Just like that, their rivalry officially begins. Even so, they make one promise. No matter who Natsuki chooses, they will remain friends. Hearing those words surprises Uta. She never expected to trust someone enough to make a promise like that. Meanwhile, Natsuki spends nearly all of his free time practicing with the band. During one rehearsal, Sarika introduces another original song. After they finish playing, she immediately points out that something feels different. Compared to their first practice, everyone has started holding back. She gives advice to Mei and Kengo about playing with more confidence. Curiously, she says nothing to Natsuki. Instead, she simply asks him to sing the song again. Rather than reassuring him, her silence only makes him question himself even more. After practice, Natsuki becomes convinced that his guitar skills are still far behind everyone else's. The only thing he feels confident about is his singing. Even the others admit guitar is still where he has the most room to improve. As everyone heads home, Natsuki realizes just how serious the band has become. Kengo parts ways first, leaving Natsuki, Sarika, and Mei walking together. Along the way, Natsuki suggests they finally come up with a band name. Sarika jokingly says they should simply call it her band. Before they can think any further, Uta catches up to them. She is surprised to see how intensely they have been practicing. She mentions that she has also been working hard to earn a starting position on the basketball team. Natsuki jokingly tells her to take Miori's spot instead. Almost on cue, Miori appears behind them and immediately objects. With everyone together, the group walks home. As they chat, Mei slowly begins opening up to Sarika and Miori. At one point, he accidentally brushes against one of the girl's hands and becomes so flustered that everyone laughs. Watching him reminds Natsuki of the awkward person he used to be. Meanwhile, Natsuki and Uta naturally fall a few steps behind the others. Natsuki admits he feels like he is holding the band back, because his guitar still cannot keep up with everyone else's. Uta understands how much the band means to him and asks what is driving him to work this hard. After thinking for a moment, Natsuki realizes the answer. Everything he has been doing is for the sake of someone he loves. The moment he says those words, Uta quietly convinces herself that he is talking about her. When they finally part ways, Natsuki notices that Uta never rode home on her bicycle. She left it behind simply so she could spend more time walking with him. That small gesture tells him more than words ever could. A few days later, the band resumes practicing with the cultural festival drawing closer. Sarika tells Natsuki he has improved enough to begin working on another song. Their plan is to perform original music, but they quickly realize most of the audience will not connect with songs they have never heard before. They need a way to introduce their music ahead of time. That is when Sarika reveals she already runs a popular YouTube channel where she uploads guitar performances. She suggests using her audience to promote the band's music before the festival. To do that properly, however, they need a recording studio. Fortunately, Mei knows someone who can arrange studio time, solving the problem almost immediately. Soon afterwards, Sarika plays everyone a demo of one of her original songs, titled Black Witch. The performance leaves the entire band speechless. The song revolves around regret and living with the past. Sarika asks Natsuki to write the lyrics. Although he senses there is a deeply personal meaning behind the song, he gladly accepts. That evening, Natsuki sits down to begin writing. Unfortunately, inspiration never comes. No matter how hard he tries, every line feels empty. Just then, Hikari messages him asking if he can look over her latest novel. The following day, they meet at a pancake cafe to catch up. While talking, Natsuki asks if she would help him with the lyrics. After reading them, Hikari gives her honest opinion. She tells him the words understand the theme of regret, but lack genuine emotion. If he wants people to connect with the song, he has to write from his own experiences. Natsuki admits that is exactly what scares him. Hikari gently reminds him of everything they have been through together. Her words bring back memories of his previous life, when he was constantly mocked and overlooked, as well as the second chance that allowed him to change. Remembering how far he has come, Natsuki realizes there is already plenty of emotion inside him. He simply has to put it into words. Inspired, he rewrites the lyrics from the beginning. The next day, he shows the finished version to Sarika. The moment she reads it, she immediately understands what he was trying to express. She praises the lyrics, and the rest of the band agrees they perfectly fit the song. With that, their second original track is complete. Not long afterward, Kengo walks over to the whiteboard and writes down a band name: Mish Mesh Leftovers. He explains that every member has felt like an outsider at some point, making them all leftovers in one way or another. The shortened nickname becomes Mishlef, and everyone quickly agrees it suits them. The celebration is short-lived though. They still need a third song before the festival. This time, Natsuki volunteers to write it himself. The others happily leave the task in his hands. Over the next several days, he works on the lyrics whenever he has free time. During one lunch break, Tatsuya approaches him. He bluntly tells Natsuki he is tired of watching him avoid choosing between Uta and Hikari. Those words stay with Natsuki. For the first time, he realizes that although his life has become everything he dreamed of, he is still running away from the one decision that truly matters. His hesitation is beginning to affect every part of his life. Eventually, the pressure causes him to hit another creative block. Unable to concentrate, he heads to the rooftop after school. Before long, Hikari finds him there. Natsuki explains that although the band likes the current version of the song, it still does not feel complete. He wants this final song to express his desire to change the world for someone important to him, but he is afraid rewriting it might only make it worse. Hikari quietly listens before giving him a simple answer. The world will never change if he keeps settling for something he knows is incomplete. Her words strike a chord. Natsuki returns to writing and continues non-stop until midday. At last, the lyrics finally come together exactly the way he imagined. He sincerely thanks Hikari for helping him find the answer. After he leaves, Hikari quietly leans against the rooftop wall and places a hand over her racing heart. Watching Natsuki pour every feeling into those lyrics made it seem as though every word had been written for her. Meanwhile, Uta continues practicing harder than ever with the basketball team. Watching from the sidelines, Tatsuya quietly observes her. The expression on his face makes it clear that he is still struggling with feelings he could not bring himself to let go of. Later that night, the band walks home together after another long practice. As the others gradually head off in different directions, Sarika ends up walking alone with Natsuki. For the first time, she opens up about her past. She tells him she was once part of another band, but nobody around her believed they could make it anywhere. Ever since then, she has been afraid of getting her hopes up. More than anything, she wants this band to last. Because of that, she asks Natsuki to stay with her and help keep it together. Without hesitation, Natsuki agrees. He tells her he wants to see the band succeed just as much as she does. Sarika immediately points out that his answer sounds a little too perfect. Embarrassed, Natsuki awkwardly doubles down on his promise, only making it sound even more dramatic. Sarika laughs and tells him he is being incredibly cringeworthy. The two end up laughing together. Before heading home, she tosses him a chocolate bar and jokingly tells him not to lose his cool before walking away. Watching her leave, Natsuki quietly reflects on his dream of being part of a band that could move people's hearts, especially the girl he loves. A few days later, the cultural festival finally begins. Natsuki's class is running a cafe, and thanks to his experience working with Ueno, he has no trouble serving customers. Partway through the morning, Yuta walks over and hands him his class t-shirt. The simple gesture almost brings him to tears because he never experienced moments like this in his previous life. Holding the shirt in his hands, he cannot help smiling. Later, while delivering orders, he notices Hikari greeting customers nearby. She looks especially beautiful that day. For a moment, Natsuki feels strangely protective. Fortunately, Ueno notices where his eyes are drifting and jokingly tells him not to worry because she will make sure nothing happens to Hikari while he is busy working. Her reassurance puts him at ease. After the lunch rush, Natsuki sneaks away to the rooftop for a short break. Not long afterward, Mei quietly appears beside him without making a sound, startling him. Mei thanks him for inviting him into the band, admitting he feared spending high school alone. Hearing that reminds Natsuki of his own past. Wanting to celebrate, Natsuki suggests they stop using family names and start calling each other by their first names instead. The gesture means more to Mei than Natsuki realizes. After returning to the classroom, Reita asks Natsuki to buy more supplies, and Uta offers to come with him. As they walk through the festival together, they talk about how quickly time has passed since they first met. At one point, Natsuki suddenly stops walking. He wants to tell Uta something important. Before he can, Uta gently stops him. She quietly says she also has something she wants to tell him, but before that, she wants to enjoy the rest of the festival together. Natsuki understands and agrees. Eventually, they sit together on a quiet bench as the sun begins to set. Gathering all of her courage, Uta finally confesses. She tells Natsuki that she has loved him ever since they first met. Natsuki closes his eyes for a moment before apologizing. Although he treasures their friendship, his heart already belongs to someone else. Uta accepts his answer despite the tears forming in her eyes. She apologizes for putting him in such a difficult position. Seeing her cry makes Natsuki tear up as well. Even after having her feelings rejected, Uta tells him to stop hesitating and go after Hikari. Natsuki quietly admits that he plans to confess after the band's performance tomorrow. Despite her heartbreak, Uta smiles. She tells him she still wants to remain friends and sincerely hopes he finds happiness. After she leaves, Tatsuya appears. Furious after seeing Uta rejected, he grabs Natsuki by the collar. Natsuki apologizes, explaining he could never lie about his feelings. After a tense moment, Tatsuya realizes his anger is misplaced, lets go, and quietly walks away. The following day, the members of the band wait backstage before their performance. As they prepare, Natsuki asks Kengo why he started playing the drums. Kengo laughs before admitting he first joined a band because he liked a girl who eventually chose someone else. His story reminds Natsuki of everything that happened with Uta. Before anyone can dwell on it, Mei announces that it is time. Just before the curtain rises, each member shares the reason they joined the band. Listening to everyone's answers, Sarika smiles. She realizes she has found a group unlike any she has ever been part of. Then the curtain opens. Looking out into the audience, Natsuki immediately spots Hikari waiting near the front. The band begins with Black Witch, instantly drawing the audience into the performance. Among the crowd, Kengo notices the girl who first inspired him to play music, and seeing her smile gives him renewed confidence. When the song ends, Natsuki steps forward and introduces the band, Mish Mesh Leftovers. The audience cheers as he announces their second song, Monochrome. Its lyrics transform a story of loneliness into one of friendship, hope, and a colorful youth. By the end of the performance, the crowd is completely captivated. Finally, they perform their last song, To the Stars. Before the music begins, Natsuki quietly dedicates it to the girl he loves. The band pours every emotion they have into the performance. When the final note echoes through the auditorium, the audience erupts into applause. Sarika thanks everyone before the curtain closes and the band rushes together in celebration. As Mei, Kengo, and Sarika embrace him, Natsuki realizes this has become one of the happiest moments of his life. That evening, the class gathers to celebrate the festival's success. Natsuki enjoys the celebration with his friends, while across the room, Uta quietly sits beside Tatsuya, who does his best to comfort her. During the celebration, Reita suddenly announces that he and Miori have officially started dating. Both of them thank Natsuki for helping bring them together. Looking around at everyone, Natsuki realizes just how different this life has become from the one he left behind. Later that night, he asks Hikari to walk with him. The two quietly watch the stars together. Trying to calm his nerves, Natsuki awkwardly opens with a cheesy line that immediately makes Hikari blush. She already knows what is coming. Taking a deep breath, Natsuki finally confesses his feelings. Before he can finish, Hikari throws her arms around him. She happily accepts. From that day forward, they become a couple. With a shy smile, Hikari makes one small request. From now on, she wants him to call her by her first name. Later that night, long after everyone has gone home, Natsuki receives a phone call from Miori. He congratulates her on beginning a relationship with Reita, and she congratulates him on finding happiness with Hikari. Then her voice suddenly begins to shake. Through tears, Miori tells him that their partnership is finally over because they both achieved the goals they set for themselves. Before Natsuki can respond, she ends the call. Alone in her room, Miori looks down at an old childhood photograph of herself and Natsuki. Though happy for him, she quietly mourns the childhood they left behind. Comment down below a second chance if you watch till the end. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video.